Welcome to Heartmender with Brenda Ballantyne. Here's Brenda.
Welcome back to my studio. Today I decided to talk about anxiety. Now, many of us at times have the challenge of feeling anxious about certain things, but I want to tell you a story about one individual. Her name is Betty. Now, Betty suffers from a variety of different issues, one being PTSD. In other words, when she was a young girl and suffered abuse from her father, and then her mother desiring to not have her, in other words, she didn't want her around, she suffered with a lot of issues dealing with not feeling like she was valued, feeling like no matter what she did, it wasn't good enough. And so as she was continually going through that, she started recognizing that anxiety was rising. She tried to find all kinds of things to express herself and get some kind of attention from her parents, but nothing was working. No matter how hard she worked to clean the house, no matter how wonderful she did in school, it didn't matter what she did. They didn't care. Father was continually come home and abuse her, and the mother would go out to be with her friends and just was absent 90% of the time. And so she grew up being very lonely and very anxious. She decided that she would go into a career that there was a lot of rejection involved. Imagine being a writer, for example. You write a script and they say, nope. You write a play, no thank you. So she tried doing a variety of other things, acting, for example, but then not chosen to be the star. So she was suffering with a lot of issues where her identity was being questioned. And so she decided to isolate. She decided to withdraw and became more and more depressed. Well, there's a saying that says that anxiety in the heart of man or woman causes depression. So she fell into a deep depression. And what happens when you get depressed? You don't want to take a shower. You don't want to clean your house. You're not motivated at all to do the things that perhaps you desired to do at one point, but no longer interest you. And so in that anxiety and depression combined, she felt very paralyzed and very lonely. So she started seeing someone to find out, well, how do I help? How do I get help with this? And there was no solutions except for medications. And in those medications, she was struggling with the side effects. And so she contacted me. And as she was talking to me about dealing with anxiety, I shared with her some ideas. One of them, that a lot of people who have anxiety have certain traits. And one of them is perfectionism. Do we know how to be perfect? Is there anybody perfect on the planet? No. And yet we have these expectations that we should do everything way beyond the norm so we can be perfect. Why? So we're not rejected. Which takes us back to our youth sometimes. In her case, maybe if I just do everything perfect, my mommy will want me. Maybe if I do everything perfect, my daddy won't beat me. What about you? Do you have anxiety? Maybe it doesn't have to do with that intense of a situation. And yet, many times we might suffer from being abandoned, or maybe we're feeling frustrated because we're thinking about things that we think we should be doing, and yet we can't. So people who suffer with anxiety many times have certain personality traits, one of them being perfectionism, as I addressed just a moment ago. Another one is the excessive, mind you the word excessive, the excessive need for approval. Just love me, accept me. And so we get needy around other people. And what happens when that occurs, the people that we want so much to be accepted by will be like, oh, that's too intense, too needy. But we need to be approved of. We need that approval for whatever we're doing. There's another trait that we have, perfectionism, needing for an excessive need for approval. We all desire to be approved, but that excessive need. Then there's an excessive need of control. Oh my gosh. I don't like to be controlled, do you? But when people are feeling anxious, they want to be in control of things because they think that if they're in control, then it'll lower their anxiety level. That's not the case, but they think that. And so the point being, if we're dealing with high anxiety in the heart of man causing depression, then we get depressed. Then we can beat ourselves up with the I should have, could have, would have. If I would have only done this, perfect, then maybe they wouldn't have rejected me. If I only would have done that right, perhaps I would have got that perfect job I wanted. And so many times we have faulty thinking, which causes anxiety in our heart. Are you being anxious about anything? Well, what do we do if we do? What do we do if we're feeling those anxious feelings? Well, there's some things that are very helpful. And with that, to think about what are we thinking? It sounds so simple. But if we can get someone to help us to focus on the positives in our lives and in others, perhaps we don't have to be concerned about trying to control or fix them or judge them. If we learn about how to make realistic goals that are not perfection, but realistic goals, then we can follow through and feel good about ourselves, celebrating our small successes as well as our big successes. So when we're feeling anxious, finding ways to be able to reframe the way we're thinking about, perhaps this is the way I should do it, and get some counsel, get some help. Contact other people that can give you some positive feedback, but realistic feedback as well. So kind of like developing a process orientation, how you can develop your experiences, how you can get real with you. Because when you're realistic, being real with yourself, your anxiety levels will come down. And so there's the realistic goals that you can work towards, and also to be able to have some fun in your life. It's difficult at times when we're feeling anxious, but just develop an area where you can find yourself learning how to be more creative, learning how to accept yourself. Perfect? No, but loving yourself. And that is a process. I hope you found this helpful. Until next time, bye-bye.